Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Dr. Pearlman, and today is going to be podcast episode number 8, and I have a very special guest. And before I introduce her, I just want to say that first and foremost, I actually didn't get to cover everything I wanted to in this podcast. There was a bit of a delay in the Zoom, and it made it a little bit awkward on the back and forth with some delays, and it made editing a little choppy, but it's a really nice conversation to have caught up with someone that I admire. To say that I admire this person greatly would be an understatement. She is a former collegiate swimmer and diver. She is a mother of two, badass crossfitting, plant-based eating evangelist, and a true healthy living enthusiast and strategist. And she embodies it to the 10th degree. And the thing is, she wants to help people, and where and why I was so eager to have her on the podcast is not only is she tried and true in her quest to help people live their healthiest life. And right now, I think we all know that there are some very serious repercussions for not living our healthiest life. I think the idea of, I don't know, just kind of getting by, we're realizing that we're all very, susceptible, and there might be large gaps in our nutritional and supplemental, daily routines that could help strengthen our immunity, that could help decrease the likelihood of developing autoimmune-like reactions. You'll hear her story firsthand, how she overcame some very disturbing symptoms that were concerning, reasons that they might have been life-threatening. And through her research, through her efforts, and through her commitment to live a healthy, natural, drug-free lifestyle, she has just absolutely blossomed. She's my good friend, and I hope all of you listen to this podcast because you are getting ready to take something away from someone who I look at as SuperMOM. So without further ado, this is me and Alisha Hanoian. Alisha, we are live and recording. Thank you for joining me today. I've been looking forward to have the opportunity to not only have you, as my guest on my podcast, but in particular, people don't know, you are actually my first guest. It was supposed to be Dr. Pearlman podcast episode 1. And I was behind the microphone, like shaking and quivering, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, oh, you're joining Dr. Pearlman TV. But those days are long gone. And this is, I believe, episode 8, if I'm not mistaken. And I've already introduced you to the people. So you are, by self-proclamation, a healthy lifestyle strategist, plant-based evangelist of sorts, and my friend from CrossFit in Rhode Island. And so what are you doing with yourself nowadays? And you moved to North Carolina. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So, yeah, we moved to North Carolina. It's been good. We're still trying to adjust. Moving in the middle of a pandemic seemed like a great idea. And we well, what do we have to lose? Like, might as well just go try somewhere new. But then when you move in a pandemic, you don't actually meet people because no one wants to come out and meet a bunch of strangers. So that's been interesting, but we're definitely making the most of it. It's definitely brought our family closer. So it's been fun. But yeah, so I'm focusing on my business, which, is a lot of coaching individuals with healthy living strategies, which is why I call myself a healthy living strategist, because there is a strategy behind living healthy. It's not easy for people. It is easy, but people make it complicated. So we try and break it down and make it more of a strategy and more doable, So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. And it's been good, really good.
Why don't we start with this? How did you become a plant-based advocate? What got you living the lifestyle you live now?
Yeah, so I'll make a long story on the shorter side. So I lost my mom when I was 13. She had breast cancer and she passed away. And obviously, you just kind of go through your life and you adapt and you suppress all these things that you deal with in your life. And then as an adult, now having children of my own, I'm kind of brought back to that place where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine not being here for my kids. That is really the driving force behind it all. So then I started to kind of investigate, like, what are the healthiest things I can do so I can like make sure I'm here for them. And I was dealing with a lot of health issues anyway. It really started with my skin. Like I had terrible acne, like all along like my chin. Like it looked like I had like a beard of zits. It was disgusting. And so I was like, I felt super uncomfortable in my own skin. So I kind of started to like look into how I fix my skin. And that's when I came across um, my esthetician who recommended that I cut out certain things in my diet, which helped a little bit, but it still wasn't fixing the problem. So then I was having more health problems. Like I could like heart palpitations, brain fog, which back then I didn't quite know what it was. Like I just felt like when I was out and about, I was in a like I almost felt drunk like throughout the day, like kind of dizzy and like just out of it. Um, so there was that. I had pain in like my face, like I'm mostly on the left side of my face. And it like floaters in my eyes. Like I was just having all these physical symptoms that were like crazy because I was a really healthy person, I thought. So then I'm like, I got to investigate like what's going on with me because I know it's not. All my doctors were saying it was just anxiety. Like you have anxiety. Let's take some Lexapro. And I'm like, like not that there's anything wrong with that. Like if someone needs medication, absolutely. Like, and it's up to everyone's discretion. But I personally was like, I feel like there's got to be a natural way to like heal my body. So that is when I found diving more into the plant-based lifestyle, doTERRA with my essential oils, and then medical medium. Like once I came across these, it was like a perfect marriage of these three things. I was like, and it's like the rest is history, I guess.
And it's, I mean, you said like if people need medicine, but
Mm-hmm.
in your case, and in many cases, whatever the diagnosis may have been, let's just kind of state the obvious. If it's not a tumor, you
Right.
know, I
Yeah.
mean, you're masking symptoms with medication.
Right.
You were looking for the answer, like the source, like why is this happening? And I mean, a lot of those symptoms, I'm sure a lot of people could relate to.
Yeah.
Bloaters, brain fog. Some people might even equate that and call it vertigo. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, migraines, the acne. I mean, so what did you? I mean, I don't want to get too detailed because there's so much to cover, but did you cut out certain foods and you were like, this is helping a little bit. This is on its way. But was there like an X factor, like something that really turned it all around? Acne went away, pain went away. How did?
Yeah. So it's hard to say because that's why I started using doTERRA and medical medium stuff kind of at the same time. But I was taking, we have a supplement trio that's like your micronutrients, cellular health, and omegas, which I was never taking supplements. I didn't really believe in supplements. Like I was like, if I'm eating a plant-based healthy diet, or at the time I was paleo for a while, I'm getting all the nutrients I need with my food. I eat super healthy. I don't need supplements. But now I realize that like our food is so depleted, like the soil is depleted, like our food now just is not the same as it was 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So once I think adding supplements into my lifestyle there, and then the celery juice, I truly believe the celery juice is what healed my skin for sure.
Okay.
100%. Because it was like within 2 weeks of me drinking it that my skin totally cleared up. And I had tried everything else. Like, and then learning through reading all of medical mediums books, like why people get eczema, psoriasis, and acne is kind of like, oh, makes sense. Like, so.
And just to clear the air, when we talk about the medical medium, we're talking
Mhm.
about is it Anthony Williams? Is that how you say his
Yeah,
name?
Anthony Williams.
Anthony
Anthony
Williams, yeah.
Williams. Yep.
And some people might call it a little woo wooey, whatever. I'm butchering that saying even, but he
Woo woo.
he you helped me. Just like as a side note, recently I was having some COVID-y, virusy like symptoms. I just couldn't shake basically what was like I don't want to call it a brain fog. Floaters might be more accurate because I actually
Mhm.
did have a spell of vertigo and I was having migraines, wasn't feeling right. I figured I'd fast it out. But when you shared with me some of the medical medium virus protocol, I went
Mhm.
out and got a few different types of B12. I got a particular form of zinc in its liquid form, and within a day, I was cleared up. And
Mhm.
I was like, light bulb moment. And then I started to pay more attention to a lot of your videos and content, and it's made me want to eat a little bit more plant based and really focus on getting micronutrients. by
Yeah.
which for everyone listening, if you don't know what that means they're vitamins and minerals and various compounds from food that wouldn't just be, carbohydrates, fats, and
Yeah. That's awesome. I had no doubt in my mind that telling you to try those things was going to help.
And when you were doing the initial protocols, when you were getting the micronutrients, when you're using supplements and you were using celery juice, were you doing like a fast of sorts? Was it a cleanse? Was there a certain amount of days that it was just celery juice? Or did you just have celery
No.
juice and start eating some salads and no?
Yeah, well, I was already plant-based at the time, so I'd cut out all animal protein. I'm not vegan. Like I still do have, the occasional living in Rhode Island, like seafood is big. Like,
Hmm.
we'd still eat seafood from time to time, not even, I would say like 3 times a year I'd have seafood. And then like some cheese here and there. So I'm not vegan, but the plant-based thing kind of started, I guess probably like almost a year before I found the medical medium information. And then when I found that, I didn't do a cleanse right away. Actually, my first, and I have done juice cleanses, like, but they were just kind of like separate, basically to give my digestion a break because I was kind of investigating digestion and like how our body breaks down food. So I wanted to try just a juice cleanse just to see what it was like. But generally speaking, and like with my lifestyle, I don't really do cleanses. I just did one though, New Year's, like beginning of January. It was a medical medium 369 liver cleanse, and that was amazing. But yeah, so to your point, the celery juice is just like an ongoing protocol or routine, regimen, ritual. It's what I do every single day for the last almost 3 years. I've been drinking it every single day. Yeah. Going plant based, and I think celery juice is like, the miracle herb.
Yeah. Well, you certainly got me drinking a ton more of it. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. And tell me if you think this like counters it in some bad way. But I put 3 cubed pineapples in, and I do celery juice with those 3 cubed pineapples, or I do 3 cubed pineapples with cucumber and celery juice.
Well, so celery juice, you're not supposed to mix anything with it. Nothing.
Oh my God.
Nothing. Yeah, it has to be just straight celery because the sodium cluster salts is like the miracle healing piece of it, and those little cluster salts are what uh, kill off the pathogens and like the Epstein-Barr, HHV6, and shingles virus in our body. Like that's what the sodium cluster salts do. So if you add anything to the celery juice, you take away from its power.
Ah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
cut out the pineapple.
Yeah. Trying to get some sweetness in there.
And I just
Uh,
eat normal otherwise.
when you say you eat normal otherwise, what does that look like throughout the day? I want to know what the Alisha breakfast, lunch, and dinner is, and snacks in between.
Okay. So morning is he calls it the medical medium morning routine. So upon waking up, warm water or like lukewarm water with a fresh squeezed lemon in there, because that is the body's liver. Like, so overnight while you're sleeping, your liver is constantly working to detox your body because we're inundated with toxins all day long. So at night it's really working. So in the morning, you drink that lemon water, which enhances your liver's capacity to continue to detox throughout the day. So I do that first, and then shortly after that, I'll do my 24 ounces of celery juice. And then I'll usually work out after that. And then after my workout, I'll make the heavy metal detox smoothie, which is another medical medium protocol. It's like a smoothie with fruits and there's some vegetables in it or herbs, fruits and herbs mostly. And then shortly after that, I'll make like gluten-free steel cut oats with some wild blueberries, something like that. And then around lunchtime, I usually have a big salad, an apple. He's big into apples, so I've become big into apples.
Fructose, bad fructose.
No, don't have fruit fear. So then like a huge salad, apple. I like the Purely Elizabeth is the brand. It's like you'll see them in Whole Foods and Stop and Shop, but it's like a grain bar that's got very minimal crappy ingredients. It's not perfect. Like none of these bars are perfect, but it's one of the better ones. And another brand I really like is 88 Acres. They're out of Rhode Island, I think, or Mass, but they make a good seed bar, like a nut and seed bar.
Okay.
So that's like a snack, or I'll have more veggies and fruit, or sometimes I'll have like a piece of sourdough, like an avocado toast with sourdough.
Yep.
I do definitely eat some other snacky things throughout the day, like Siete Foods, their chips I love. Those are on the healthier side of chips.
Yeah.
And then dinner is kind of like whatever we're feeling. We do like a meal delivery service 3 nights a week. So we usually make dinner together, my husband and I. And it's a plant-based option. So usually root vegetables, potatoes, tons of other vegetables. Yeah. So it's fun. It's not that hard.
And for those people that are listening, or for especially patients of mine or people that know I go by like the keto Cairo, and I totally am an advocate of the proper ketogenic lifestyle / diet, which does not mean being in ketosis all the time, which I could go on for hours about. So I won't bore everyone to death now. But um, Alisha is ripped. I mean, that's just no other way to say it. She's ripped. So see that, guys, you can have potatoes, you can eat vegetables, fruits, and everything else. And especially now, and I want to drive the point home, like, so you exercise, regularly, right? Like, do you have like a regimen that then there's a decent amount of rest in between? Are you an everyday, or how do you go hard certain days? Like, how are you balancing rest, recovery, and working out?
Yeah. So I do move my body probably every single day. We have a rebounder, like a little trampoline. So I get in some rebounding daily. CrossFit. I'm only CrossFitting 2 days a week right now, or like sometimes 3, but mostly only 2. I felt like my body was, I don't know, like I didn't need it as much, but I do still love it. Like trust me, I love CrossFit. I'll never not love CrossFit. But during the whole stay-at-home order, we got a Peloton. Actually, we had a Peloton before, but I was only doing that once a week, CrossFitting more.
Hmm.
But then now I've kind of like shifted on cycling more, and doing CrossFit twice a week. And yeah, so just about every day I work out. I do yoga on Thursdays, just 1 day a week. But my workouts are not super strenuous like they used to be, unless I'm doing CrossFit or like a Tabata or a HIIT ride on the bike.
Yeah.
But I like the longer endurance rides now. I find those to be kind of fun, and I'm definitely not taxing my adrenals as much as
Yeah.
I once was, but it's working and I feel good. So
Well, that's awesome. And you were actually, that almost like took the words out of my mouth. There's almost like no need to say it now about like taxing the adrenals, like increased cortisol. Like
mhm.
right now, I think one of the big problems, and this is why I love chatting with you. And now, you went through what you eat and how often during the day, and people need to hear that. And I mean, you cannot starve your body. You cannot starve your muscles of what it needs. You cannot dehydrate yourself with amphetamine and or caffeine, excuse me. You can't dehydrate yourself, leave yourself depleted to try to be ripped. You can't starve out all this fat. All you're going to be doing is starving muscles need nutrients to grow. You got to feed the machine. And I really hope that anyone that is listening to this, that they understand that it's just science. I think it's something along the lines of, for every 100 calories or something that you eat, your body uses like 20 of those calories when they're proper, protein, so fat, and good, carbohydrates. It uses 20 of those calories just to, metabolize. And I mean, that's how you build a sustainable, lifestyle. So that's another thing that, again, I really want you to elaborate on. You're the, not only the guest, you're the featured guest. And I mean, people got to understand, I mean, you are an athlete. I used to CrossFit with you, which is probably about 5 years ago now. And,
Oh gosh, yeah,
gosh, it might be more, but
I think it's more.
yeah. You were like back squatting PRs the day that, your first a daughter was born. That's almost a true story, I think.
It's
And
pretty close. It was
yeah.
strict press, I think.
And she's back in the box, I don't know, what, a week later, 2 weeks later, not even
No, I
like
think
an
I took
hour
a
after.
solid like 10 weeks, but
Okay.
I was like, yeah, I was excited to get back to working out. Totally. Yep. Those were the days, right?
I mean, I can't, even 2 days of CrossFit now would like break me in half, you know?
Yeah.
It's too strenuous in terms of the repetitive motions that I do at the office.
Hmm.
And I've just developed like horrific hip tendonitis and
Oh,
like tight psoas and chronic lumbar discs myself.
wow.
And the thing is when I was in like the keto like zone where I wasn't even straying from that at all, I was thriving in terms of exercise, but my adrenals, my kidneys, like it became a big problem.
Mm,
And that's why in the last year or so, I've really gone back to a much more balanced, low carb diet, very plant heavy. And then I have my days. Put it this way, your 2 days of CrossFit is my 2 days of eating like steaks, ribeye, bison, things of that nature.
yeah,
But all I do is run and cycle and body weight
nice.
exercise. Oh, I mean, right. So the keto diet is like you would want fat. You would want like only fat. And the thing is, people think that they're eating a keto diet, but they're usually eating way too much protein. So
Uh-huh.
protein broken down, in the body when it gets absorbed, and then it's turned through gluconeogenesis through a sugar a
Hmm.
pathway. So it basically breaks down like sugar. It's a little bit
Okay.
different, but also they eat too much protein, and that too much protein ends up not being absorbed, and it just
Hmm.
goes to fat. And the same way that insulin then ends up getting signaled with too much protein at once. And that's kind of how you turn on like a lot of they call it mTOR. It's like how you just multiply cells. So you think of like cancer,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
and I agree with that notion. I just don't think that you can partition fuel in your body appropriately without being very smart about how much heavy, dense food that you eat, i.e., protein, fatty protein, and even lean protein, because even lean protein has a ton of fat.
Right. Yeah. That's
And
what it, yeah.
the medical medium is right in the sense that you cannot stay in nutritional ketosis all the time.
Hmm.
You could try, and that inevitably would end up being very, very taxing on your body. I would think,
Disastrous. Yeah.
and I experienced that,
Hmm.
um, which is why I think this one of the reasons I want to have this podcast is you've heard the term butyrate, right?
Hmm.
So butyrate is a compound that we make in our small intestine that we get only from these, well, I can't say only from, but predominantly from, and most people that eat a normal, even healthy diet get from are fibrous plants.
Hmm.
Now that component of butyrate is just a little bit different than the beta hydroxybutyrate main ketone that we make in the liver. Now, they are two different things altogether. But I found this study, and I'll end up having it in the description. I'm not going to screen share now, just because I guess you could say I'm lazy, but I'm holding it right here down here. These notes. It talks about butyric acid influences how beta hydroxybutyrate, the ketone we all love, modulates fatty acid oxidation, that's using fat in our body, and ketogenesis to support ketosis. So the conclusion of this study is short chain fatty acids do play a role in the effect of exogenous ketone bodies to support the evaluation of the ketone status, to utilize the more efficient beta hydroxybutyrate. So I'm not even trying to show off or get technical, but here's the take home of this. This is why I love plant-based and why you're going to like just drive home some points in a minute. But I just want to finish saying that you can have a high fiber, like, right? So high fiber diet, high fiber in a sense, leafy greens, very low glycemic index based vegetables and fruits, right? We'll,
Hmm.
we'll keep it at vegetables. And what that'll do is it reduces the rate in which food enters the bloodstream, right? And it increases the rate in which the rest of, waste and what we can't digest leaves the body. That's very healthy for you because it controls blood sugar. It can keep dense, non beneficial calories low. And now we know that by eating all those fibrous vegetables that are loaded with butyrate, you can actually be more efficient at making ketones. So you can do a plant-based ketogenic diet and actually have a lot of sustained success. Will you be in nutritional ketosis all the time? Of course not. That would eventually be harmful, as Alisha was alluded to. And so that's the science behind eating like plant-based ketogenic, really without getting crazy, nutty, and you know, but I wanted to, have the opportunity and the platform to share that. And obviously, it's one of the reasons why you could look at someone and say, "How are they so ripped? They're eating carbs, they're eating potatoes." You know, it goes beyond that. I mean, yes, there's an exercise component, but
Yeah. But nutrition's huge. It's everything. Or not everything, but it's huge.
Oh my God. Okay. There you go. That's what I wanted to talk. Okay. When people come to you, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you must have like a component, like there must be more than just nutrition. What do you say, like all these staples of living a healthy lifestyle are? Like, what's your kind of things you point to?
Well, the foundation for sure. So nutrition, I think, is the biggest.
Hmm.
That's our foundation, and making sure that it's like building a house on a crappy foundation. Like you just can't do it.
Hmm.
So nutrition first for sure, and then I think rest and stress management. Stress management is next. But with the stress management piece comes movement and exercise, because a lot of people let off steam by exercising, right?
Hmm.
So that's why, I mean, I do think getting some form of movement in every day, and I say movement instead of like, a workout, because you don't have to go balls to the wall every day. Like your movement could just be going for a 20-minute walk, or doing something light at home, or yoga or something. Not that yoga's not, it can be strenuous, but yeah, I think like those three things, and hydration, drinking tons of water, are like the staples, the pillars of when you talk about health, where you want to be at.
And
Yeah.
it's I'm very similar. I always say rule number one is don't get hurt. Because
Yes.
that's everyone's past. It's like, man, when you get injured, you're in a bad spot. What can we do? Then I talk about
Hmm.
nutrition and exercise. Nutrition supersedes exercise. Then there's sleep, like you talked about rest. And really, when you talk about stress management, I always say the body's ability to adapt. And that just kind of goes into really like all four of those plus everything you said, right? If we can't
Yeah.
adapt to like our body under a toxic load,
I was just going to say,
stressor.
that's the one thing I would add
Mhm.
in there, is reducing our toxic load, because you can't, we all are inundated daily. And I talk about this all the time. Things we can't control that are coming out of the sky, literally, like, so if we can do things in our daily life to like eliminate toxins from our body, and then also reduce that burden we're getting like in our home, the environment we can control, then that's a huge piece.
Now, it's funny, you had made a video on Instagram the other day about drinking water, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my wife is on me about drinking water. Like it's a
Very
big
good.
deal in the house. I mean, I get screamed at because
Uh-huh.
yes, I drink too much coffee. It's a problem. And oh, but the antioxidants. Um, but the water, I mean, people don't understand that that is the real detoxification. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, truly, that's how you're detoxing the body. I mean, think about if anyone listening to this has ever changed a filter from the refrigerator, you've changed a filter on your air conditioner. That is what your kidneys are trying to do in those little tubules, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got to keep them flushed and you've got to keep them lubricated. And the minute you neglect that, bad things happen. And that is how you can start to build up a very toxic inside. I mean, there's many ways to do it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, water is
And
super important.
think about too, I mean, now we're learning more about the right kind of water. Like, certain filters are better than others, and like certain bottled waters are better than others. Like there's like there's the quality of your water matters. Like it's just everything. But you could go down a huge rabbit hole with all of that. But I just
Did
think
you
like,
did you
hmm?
see the article on CNN the other day about the baby food?
No.
They pretty much said it was like Gerber and I don't know how many other Johnson and Johnson. I don't even want to use, companies' names because I don't recall, but I shared it on my Facebook.
Yeah.
They came out and admitted that they had like all these levels of toxic metals, um, formaldehydes. I don't even know. All these just things
Yeah.
that were beyond the legal limit, just contaminated in baby food.
Oh,
And it's
it's
just
so
out there
sad.
like, nobody's arguing about that online though. You know,
Yeah, it's really
I
sad.
mean, it's so sad, and that's we're talking about toxic load. I mean, in the article, it literally stated, not good for baby's brain development. But what's interesting is a lot of these were the same ingredients that make their ways into a lot of vaccines. But hey,
It's a
that's
whole
none of
other
my
rabbit hole.
business. Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Well, toxic heavy metals. If you don't mind, real quick,
no,
I'll
please.
the heavy metal detox smoothie that I drink every day. My kids drink it too. I make sure that they have their little share of it too. The ingredients in it are designed to pull toxic heavy metals like out of our brain and out of different organs and safely like remove, then our body can eliminate them and like remove it, because that's where, of course, like autoimmune conditions and also Alzheimer's and all kinds of different brain, chronic illnesses, but also our skin, like the psoriasis, eczema, and acne. Those are heavy metal issues where the Epstein-Barr virus is literally feeding on those toxins, on those heavy metals, and it comes out on our skin as dermatoxin, which is what. So if anyone's suffering from eczema, psoriasis, or acne, highly recommend the heavy metal detox smoothie and celery juice.
And that's the heavy metal detox. Correct me if I'm wrong here, and I could pull up a sheet. I hope I copied it, but that's like the 2 bananas. Should I be saying it? Is it giving away the golden calf?
Oh no, totally. Give it away. Yeah. I squeeze a fresh, like an orange. I squeeze one orange into a blender, like a Vitamix. And then I fill up the rest. So you want like a cup of liquid, whether it be water or orange juice he prefers, like fresh squeeze though, not from like Tropicana, but you're gonna be squeezing your oranges. 2 cups of frozen wild blueberries, not cultivated. They have to be wild, frozen wild blueberries from, you can get them anywhere, but they have to be wild. And then 2 bananas, a teaspoon of barley grass juice powder, a teaspoon of spirulina, and a handful of Atlantic dulse, which is like a sea vegetable, and cilantro, like a handful of cilantro, right in the blender. And it tastes really good. My kids love it, which is great because otherwise it'd be a disaster. But yeah, we drink it every day.
That's awesome. On top of the heavy metal detox, celery juice daily, everything that you're already giving us, all these golden nuggets. Talk to us about oils. Now, I know, if someone asks me about oils in my office, and I carry some CBD products, I use the Terra Deep Blue, as I've stated before. I mean, that's one of my go-to. My patients love it. I know about the aromatherapy benefits. Certainly, what it does to the chemical reaction in the brain to smell these scents is therapy in itself. But what can you tell us? Like, there's got to be more. I mean,
yeah. Totally. So they are, because they're carbon based and so are we, and they, like Western medicine, it doesn't permeate a cell membrane like essential oils do because it's the same kind of the same base. So when you have like a virus in your body or bacteria or something, it's easier for the essential oils to permeate that cell and do what it needs to do, which is why, the oils like oregano and thyme and clove, a lot of the antiviral, antibacterial oils work so well. It's because they're able to penetrate through the cell membrane. And that's really like how they work on that cellular level versus the Western medicine that doesn't really work on it works tremendously well, but not on a cellular level like essential oils do. So yeah, and you got into the aromatherapy piece, but like the limbic part of our brain, which is like the subconscious part of our brain. That's why, like, when you walk into, say, an Italian restaurant, smell reminds you of like your grandmother's house when you were a little kid. You're just automatically like brought back to like a happy place. That's how our brain works with like smells or music. If you hear a song, sometimes you're like, oh, like it reminds you of like a specific time in your life. That's our subconscious mind at work, and essential oils connect with that limbic part, the limbic system. They're amazing.
And what is your favorite oil?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, too many.
It's a hard question. I would probably say frankincense, the king of oils. It's like you can use it for really anything. It's anti-aging, it's anti-inflammatory, it's good for your immune system and nervous system. It's for every body system, and it smells so good. And it tastes good. I put a drop under my tongue every day.
You would agree, based on what we've already talked about, that you can't replace good nutrition. But
yeah,
how do people, there's a lot to edit there, but how do people start making those small changes? What's like, you're talking to somebody, mother of 2, just fed up, not feeling good. Even after you told her the protocols, and she's like, what should I do? What's the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow to be that healthier version of me so I can live like the way Alisha lives? Really?
So we touched on it a little bit, but I would say the water intake is huge because that's helping our organs filter out the things that need to filter out. And also it's good for our blood to have like a really well hydrated body. And so our blood doesn't get thick. And so it keeps everything functioning really well. So hydrating, I would always, I go by the rule of thumb where if you're like active, but you're not running like marathons every day, but like half of your body weight in fluid ounces. So I'm like around 120 pounds. So I make sure that I drink 60 ounces of water every day. And if it's a day that I tend to maybe have a coffee or CrossFit or, go for a longer run, I might drink a little more than that, but water's huge. So I would make sure that that particular mom was watching her water consumption. And then I always tell people that it goes right back to what you said, like these little tiny incremental shifts. I call them like micro shifts, but like now it's coming, people are talking more about habit stacking, but creating these little rituals throughout your day that become just that they're, it's like when you wake up in the morning and go brush your teeth, like that's a healthy habit. You want to try and find these things that are almost like a trigger so you know to do it. Like when you get up out of bed, you brush your teeth. Or for instance, like when you go into your kitchen, you have a little canister on your countertop that has your supplements in it. So you see it every time you go into the kitchen. And so, because supplements are things that people forget to take every day because they're in a cabinet. So if you put them somewhere where you can see them, then, throughout the day, you can take your little bit here and there. But like these little tiny shifts that become just normal life for you. And I always, working with women in general, they have their things that make them happy that they don't want to give up. So I'm a huge fan of like, you don't have to give up those things, like add in a healthy habit. And then once you start to feel better, you'll kind of, unless it's smoking, if you're smoking cigarettes, I'm gonna tell you to quit smoking. But like if you're eating a cookie every night after dinner, like it's fine. But I think like honestly, in the beginning it is like you don't want to just like overhaul your life. That's not sustainable. So you start with like, keep your cookie, but like in the morning, make sure you're drinking your water with lemon first thing. Like add that healthy habit in. And then after a couple of weeks, you'll be like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like, all right, let's do something else. Let's like add a salad at lunchtime. If you're not eating leafy greens, like add a salad. Start adding healthy things and you'll start to feel better. And then you can slowly take away the unhealthy things.
It's interesting. That's why I made that reaction to the cookie. I found with most of the people I work with, it is always that cheat or treat gets them in trouble because they haven't been able to, and it's not weaning off, because you can wean off of carbohydrates, you can wean off of like complex carbs, eat less rice, don't eat pizza, switch to a cauliflower, kind of crust now that option exists. You could do that, but it's like the sweets. I mean, they are, and it's not just me personally. I've seen it time and time again. It's a trap, it's like Star Wars. It's a trap. And
it's true. Yeah.
they just it's like a slippery slope. It actually reminds me of, Dr. Joel Kahn. He's like the plant-based, guru, one of the top ones. Anyways, very, very, very respected author, right? And he always talks about, he's like, man, he goes, what does he say? In moderation is a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And that's why like the little thing that I do different is when I see people making these micro shifts or micro changes, these better habits, I'm always worried about like giving the green light, like, hey, if you like a little ice cream, you like a cookie. I almost want to be like, if you can't give that up now, for like 3 months or something, then I feel like they won't make it. But I don't know.
Well, I agree with there comes a point where you do, like if you're eating that every night, you do have to give that up for sure. But I think mentally to wrap your mind around, especially for moms and women, like no offense to like the guys, but like we give so much of ourselves every single day to like our kids. And sometimes it's that one little thing that like it's for us and we just look forward to it. And it's like, I just want that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's why, and I mostly do work with women and moms. So they're always excited when I'm like, you don't have to like give that up yet. Like just, add these healthy pieces first. You'll start to feel a difference. You'll start to feel better. And then we'll like cut that back to like, smaller portion. And then eventually it will disappear.
That's the thing. It's like, don't go to Dr. Pearlman. He won't let you have your cookie.
No.
Go find Alisha. She'll wean you off that cookie, right?
Eventually I'm going to tell you to stop eating the cookie, but not right away.
And then you'll be nibbling on celery and making celery juice every day.
I mean, I still have like my like little things I like to have. You know what I mean? Like When we go out to eat, I get dessert. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. And you're gonna enjoy your life too.
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting or any kind of fasting?
I'm not a fan. Like I've never. I mean, aside from the juice, well, it wasn't even a fast. So it was just a juice cleanse that I did.
Mhm.
I mean, I just don't. I don't see the point.
Oh, hey, let me tell you something. I'm glad you said that. And here's what's so cool. When you helped me, when you guided me with the medical medium insight for the virus protocol,
Mhm.
and I was researching just fasting because, like, here's the thing, right? The only reason anyone should fast is to achieve autophagy. Prolonged
Mhm.
fast. The sweet spot's at like 36 hours, where you begin to basically recycle the cells just your body's not going to use, right? So other than the emotional, psychological component and the victory and depleting your body of glycogen, you're being dehydrated and looking thinner, there's not really a reason to be fasting. Well, I'm with you. I really, and I have said this on all my podcasts, because all my podcasts, with maybe the last two, were more focused on like particular humanitarian efforts and or particular injuries.
Mhm.
But they're always focused around, food, lifestyle. And I really hate the concept of fasting. Turns out, turns out that viruses thrive during the body's process of autophagy. So
Ah,
by me actually just trying to starve it out, by me trying to starve it out, I was actually doing the
make it
viruses.
stronger. Yeah.
And by me getting all those antioxidants in from the juice, the celery juice, and then getting the zinc, which I also incorporate NAC, also known as NAC, um, which is the precursor for glutathione, the most abundant antioxidant in our body. And the way that that can then fight the oxidation that's going on within not just the liver, but all the cells of the body to then, fight the good fight. I mean, I was back within 24 hours. No,
Yeah.
less actually. It was less than that. I gotta be honest.
It's amazing.
But
Yeah.
fasting, I don't like the body having to be that stressed that often. I think that people use it as a tool to get into ketosis because again, it's all about ketosis. But
Mhm.
which is why I really wanted to have you on, talk to somebody who embodies, right, plant-based fitness, not depriving herself lifestyle. And now
Mhm.
show you guys out there who maybe think that I'm going to give you some golden nugget about ketosis. Well, I just did. A lot of vegetables and a lot of fibrous, low glycemic, green spinach, uh, cooked well Brussels sprouts, bok choy, asparagus, and holy moly, you can get into deeper ketosis.
I love bok choy.
I just went to a restaurant last night, ordered a soup with bok choy. And my wife's like, why do you want this bok choy? What's this coming from? I want some
It's
bok
so
choy.
good.
Yeah. I was sitting there just eating it like I was a rabbit. Um,
Yeah.
but Alisha, seriously though, I'm really glad we got an opportunity to chat and catch up
Yeah,
and
it was
share
awesome.
some of the knowledge with, people that, frankly, I think should say. I hope that anyone that was listening got something from Alisha and all her experience and knowledge. And do we want to leave anybody with some final thoughts and some words of wisdom?
Just especially for the moms who are listening, I want to uh strongly suggest that you make sure you're taking care of yourself first because you can't pour from an empty cup. Like if you are giving your all to your kids all day and you're neglecting yourself, then you're just not being the best version of yourself for your family. So I think a huge thing, a big takeaway for the moms would be to make sure you're taking care of yourself and take the healthy route because you want to be here for your kids, right?
Damn right. We don't want to have the kids, foot the bill, the emotional bill
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
not being healthy because you can't take care of anybody if you're not feeling good.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, Alisha, for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we can do this again one day.
Yeah, thank
And
you. It's so fun.
go Bucks,
Ah,
TB12.
yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
And until next time, everybody, thanks for tuning into the podcast.
All right, thank you so much.